Put in drive then?
We're not getting anywhere sitting there. All right,
No.
there we go. Now I got everything lined up.
All right. Well, hey, welcome back to yet another conversation here at Road Noise. And um, Dad and I have been hanging out for the last, what, almost an hour, 40 minutes or so,
Yeah.
Dad, wrapping up a board meeting. And I mentioned that because uh, it's just a reminder that we're you celebrated 50 years a while ago, and it continues. So there's the aspect of being on the road sharing the gospel, but there's also the aspect of actually running a company. So there's lots of irons in the fire. So
And we are so blessed to still have three of the original founding board members that still serve on the board. I mean, that's incredible.
yeah, it is. And they're great men too.
Yeah. Yeah, the number of hours that these men have put in over all these years is just, we are blessed.
Yep.
Yep. So,
Well, where are we headed to tonight?
well, tonight I was thinking, let's go to Anchorage, Alaska.
Hey, it's been a little while since we've been there.
Yeah, and I mean it's not quite winter here in Michigan. I mean, we're pushing spring pretty hard, and maybe if we hurry and get to Alaska, we can still get in on some winter weather. I don't know. No, but this goes back several years ago when we were up there and had a team with us. And I don't know, Kedron, but perhaps you were on that team. As I was looking over the notes that I had on this, all I had down was it was a team. And we've had a couple of teams up there over the years, so I don't remember exactly which team this was, but the story is still the same. All right, and it kind of goes like this. It says the way I have it written anyway. It says that Joel had no idea what was ahead of him when he had to get rid of one of his bunnies. And so let me tell you the story about Joel. Joel was in public high school, living there in Anchorage. His dad was in the military, and so he was stationed there. Dad was. And Joel attended a program that we did. Now, we, the team, had arrived in Anchorage on a Thursday. And we were only going to be in Anchorage for that following Sunday. And then Sunday afternoon, we're flying to Kodiak Island. And then would eventually be coming back to Anchorage. But anyway, so we're just going to be in Anchorage for Sunday morning at a church and then flying to Kodiak. So here I am. We get into Anchorage, and I'm kind of arguing with myself as to what it is I'm going to do at this church on Sunday. Because I'd been in Anchorage the October before and had meetings there at the same church. And so when we're coming back this time, less than a year later, I gave this church first opportunity. And they jumped at it and said, yes, please, we would love to have you back. And would you be willing to do all four of our services? Okay, so it's a nice sized church in Anchorage, and they have four services on Sunday. And I agreed. But my dilemma is, which program am I going to do? Because we're going to be doing lots of programs while we're up there and going to be at a camp on Kodiak Island. And so I've got enough programs to do all the chapels and all there at camp. So which program am I going to do at this church? Well, the one I really wanted to do involved a rabbit. But yeah, I could do the program without the rabbit. And I mean, nobody knows that there could have been or should have been a rabbit in the program. And so because they don't know, they won't know what they're missing. And hey, it's all good, right? So I can still go ahead and do that program without a rabbit. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, no, if I'm going to do it, I need to give them the best that I can give, which would mean including a rabbit. Well, this isn't the first time I'd flown into Anchorage without a rabbit because it cost too much money to fly a rabbit up there. And so I knew where I could probably find a rabbit in Anchorage. Now, I already had one lined up for Kodiak. So I know when I get to Kodiak, there's going to be one waiting for me there. And so we're good. But if I get one in Anchorage to use Sunday morning, what's going to happen to the rabbit while we're in Kodiak? And so typically what I would do, anytime I fly someplace, if I fly to California, I make arrangements with a pet shop that as soon as I get there, I'm going to get off the plane, I'm going to get in a rented car, and I'm going to go straight to the pet shop and pick up the rabbit that they have waiting for me. Well, I hadn't contacted a pet shop in Anchorage this time, but I knew where I'd gotten rabbits before. And so when I finally agreed that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to go ahead and get a rabbit, and I'll use it Sunday morning, and then I'll give it away. That's always what I do, is I just give it away. But can I say this? If you make an announcement at with a group of kids that you're going to give the rabbit away at the end of the program, guess what? Every kid wants the rabbit. You'll have at least a half a dozen kids, running up immediately saying, yeah, I want the rabbit. Well, one of the requirements has always been, anytime I give the rabbit away, is that your folks have to be there and say it's okay. I mean, I would not want to experience the wrath of the parent that had the kid come home with a rabbit and them not knowing about it. Right? So that's always been my policy. And so my plan is this. I'll get the rabbit, and after each of the four services, I will make an announcement that after the last service, I'm going to give the rabbit away. But I can't wait till the last service to make that announcement, because if I do, what happens if I don't have a kid there with his parent that says okay? So I figure I need to start making the announcement after the first service and make it after each one until eventually, yeah, we'll get rid of the rabbit. Well, what I didn't know is that Joel, in a public school, got put into a split cast, yeah, I can say this. He was put into a split classroom there. Finally got it out. Of third and fourth graders. And in this classroom of these kids, there was a problem because most of these other boys were into pornography. I was not aware of this when I met Joel. I found this out later, and it came by way of Victoria, who got the story from Joel's mom. So here's kind of how it went. Joel is having a problem here at school because of the pornography. Third and fourth grade. Class, this is a serious problem in schools. All right, so this isn't unique. But Joel had decided that he was not going to get involved with this. He was going to avoid it. And because of that, he really didn't have very many friends, at least not with the guys. And Joel had a rabbit, but he had to get rid of the rabbit because it started biting people. And before we got to Anchorage, Joel had gone around to various pet stores in town looking for a replacement rabbit. And that summer, Joel had been asked by some neighbors if he would mow their lawn And he agreed. And so that summer he had been mowing the lawn. So now here it is. He figures, okay, when these people get back, I'm going to have the money and I'll be able to buy a rabbit. And so he wanted to scout out and see what's available. And he had gone to a couple of pet shops and looked at their rabbits, or they didn't have any, or whatever it was. But he ended up going to this one particular pet shop that I had always gone to. And when Joel got there, they had lots of rabbits. And they were stacked in cages 3 high. And Joel fell in love with a rabbit that was in that top cage. He had had the rabbit out of the cage and held it. It was just a nice, lovable bunny. And so that's the one he wanted, but the cage didn't have a price on it. So he had no idea what that rabbit was going to cost. And so he inquired, and of course his parents were with him at the time. So they inquired, and Joel was shocked. He did not have enough money to buy the rabbit. And so as the story came from his mom, they were debating as to what to do. Do we go ahead and loan him the money and have him pay it back? Or do we have him just wait until he's got all the money and then get the rabbit? So they weren't sure what to do, but in any case, they left the store without the rabbit. Meanwhile, Joel's neighbors get back from vacation. And they never said one word about paying him for mowing the lawn. Talk about a broken-hearted young man. He had done the work. He expected to get something. And with the money that he already had, that should have been enough to buy the rabbit. And now here he is, doesn't have enough money and doesn't get any pay for mowing the lawn. So that's kind of the background of where Joel's at. He's taken a stand at school, and he would love to have another bunny. Well, lo and behold, Joel and his family attend this particular church. Now, class, there are over 200 churches in the Anchorage area. This particular Sunday, we are only going to be at one. This church has 4 morning services. What are the chances that in this large city with over 200 churches and 4 services that Joel and his family would be there? Well, you're getting ahead of me. Yes, they were there, and they typically attend the 3rd service. But guess what? Not this Sunday. Now, remember, my plan was I'm going to make the announcement after every service because I've got 4 chances here to find a kid. And so after the first service, I need to make this announcement. And if I don't find a kid, I still have second service and third and fourth. And by the time, so I've got to make the announcement after the first service. Making an announcement that I'm going to give a rabbit away is not part of how I normally close a program. And so when I got to the end of the program, that totally slipped my mind. And I did not make that announcement. Okay, so now all the kids are leaving, and I just eliminated 1/4 of the opportunity to find someone to take the rabbit. Well, anyway, so all the kids are being dismissed, and there's a young man that comes running up. And he starts telling me that he had already met this rabbit, that he had gone to a pet store in town a week before, and he had held that rabbit. And he told me the story about how he found out that what it cost, and he didn't have as much money, and he was planning on when he got the money to go back to that pet store. He was just hoping he'd get back there before somebody else bought the rabbit. Remember, they normally go to the 3rd service. Here's Joel, and I don't know what the reason was, but they came to the 1st service that Sunday. So he's he's telling me all about the rabbit. And so I asked him, would you like to have this rabbit? Well, of course. I mean, this kid lit up. I mean, especially when I said I would give it to him. I mean, here's the very same rabbit that he was wanting to buy. But I said, there's a catch. He's like, what's that? I said, it has to be okay with your folks. So this kid immediately disappears. I mean, he's on a mission to find his parents. And he came back with his mom. But remember, this is the first program that I just did. I've got to do this same program 3 more times. And so when he comes back with his mom, I mean, I've got to get ready for the next group of kids. And so I've got to reset my whole program. And so I asked Joel and his mom to meet with Vicky, who was right there. And I said, you ladies exchange information as to how we can get in contact with each other and so forth after the last service today. And we'll make arrangements to meet somewhere or whatever we need to do and so forth. So that was what the ladies were doing as I kind of made myself scarce and got ready for the next program. We did all the other 3 programs and did not have to make the announcement about giving a rabbit away because God had already provided somebody in the first service. And the short version of that is that yes, that afternoon, late afternoon, we're to fly to Kodiak. But after that 4th service, we did meet up with Joel and his parents and was able to give him that rabbit. But can I say this? I had some questions. How many pet stores are there in Anchorage? How many pet stores have rabbits? How many rabbits were there even in that one store where I got that one? Why was it that I chose that particular rabbit instead of any of the others? Why was it that Joel had been in that store a week before and had already held that rabbit? Why is it that they attended the first service that day instead of the third service? Why didn't I make the announcement after that first service? If I would have, there'd have been a lot more kids come up than just Joel. And of all those kids that were there, why is it that Joel was the one that got the rabbit? Class, all I can say is God is good. And he wants to give us the desires of our heart. And the reason I wanted to share this story now is because last week we talked about heavenly hamburgers and how God supplies our needs. And he's very good at doing that. But in Psalms 37, verse 4, it says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Here's a young boy that had a desire, a burning desire for this particular rabbit. Is that important to God? Certainly seems like it to me. I think God was wanting to teach Joel and his parents and me a very important lesson. That God is concerned about every area of our life, even to the pets that we have. And to our kids, God's concerned about our kids and what their desires are. So all I can say is that was a good lesson for a whole bunch of us that day. That God really does give us the desires of our heart if, as in Joel's case, we stand up, take a stand, let people know that, hey, yeah, I'm a Christian, I'm different. Focus on the Lord, doing what he wants us to do, rejoice in him, and he gives us the desires of our heart.
Yeah, I love that. What a great story. Yeah, what a great story. And it kind of fits the theme of many of these conversations we've had over the last couple of years, Dad, just about how God is just constantly providing for his kids. And it's in this case provided for you having a way to get rid of a rabbit. But what a huge blessing to this to Joel as well. That's fantastic. As you were telling that story, it was all coming back to me because I remember that. And your team that summer was you, Mom, Karen, myself, Amelia, and Kurt. That was the team
The
that
only one that wasn't there was Ken, if I remember
yeah,
correct, and I think he was.
it just got
I
married.
think yeah, he had just got married. He was on his honeymoon, so
Yeah,
he
yeah,
didn't want to spend his honeymoon with the rest of the family
yeah,
doing meetings in Alaska.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, but I skipped one part of that story. When I went to buy the rabbit, okay, so I had to get some rabbit food and so forth. And I was at the counter getting ready to pay for it. And the store manager walked up and saw me there with the rabbit and everything. And I don't know how the subject even came up about what I was going to do with the rabbit. And I shared with him that I was going to use it for 4 services at this church and then I was going to give it away. And the store manager, I guess, was impressed with what we're doing with it or something, and said, "I'm going to take $5 off." Okay, the rabbit was still more on the expensive side, but we did get a $5 discount on that rabbit.
Yeah,
But it's all good. It had been worth it if we'd paid twice as much for that
yeah,
because of what
absolutely.
that rabbit ended up doing. I mean,
Yeah,
I was just amazed.
what a huge blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of rabbits, do you know where Winnie the Pooh took rabbit for breakfast?
No.
IHOP.
Oh, come on.
And you know what a rabbit's favorite motto is? Don't worry, be hoppy.
Be happy.
But
Yeah.
always remember this: some bunny loves you,
Yeah.
and it's God.
Yeah. This sounds like a repertoire of someone who spent the last 50 years in kids ministry and a good chunk of that working with rabbits.
And have used a rabbit in a lot of programs over the years.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Well, hey, let's park it here and I look forward to picking this up again next week.